There was a YouTuber by the name of Tactikaltemplar that kind of made Jesus seem pretty cool.
Brothers, so there I was getting ready to go to sleep, which is something apparently the Moist Critical can no longer do these days. And I was confronted with a YouTube recommendation of a Moist Critical video called What Did He Just Say? And the thumbnail was this elongated, overly stretched, lazy depiction of Ted Cruz. And I'm thinking, what did Ted Cruz say? What stupid thing did Ted Cruz say? Because I had just seen that Ted Cruz gave that interview to Tucker Carlson, and boy, oh boy, was that embarrassing. That was absolutely humiliating. And the only thing more humiliating than that interview with Tucker Carlson, where basically Ted Cruz couldn't justify his faith in Israel, the only thing more embarrassing than that I could imagine would be the interview or dog walk between Sneeko and Moist Critical, where Sneeko was arguing with Moist Critical against the age of consent, and somehow, some way, Moist Critical still lost that debate because Moist Critical, in the moment, thought that the moral and defensible position in that case was to say that a 9-year-old could consent to transitioning. That's right. Chemical and physical castration of a 9-year-old is okay if the 9-year-old consents to it, and Sneeko capitalized on that to pound Moist Critical into the ground, saying, well, wait, you're saying that a 9-year-old can consent to life-altering surgeries and chemical castration, but they can't consent to being married? And then the debate was over. Sneeko just absolutely mopped him up after that, and it's still something that Moist Critical has never fully recovered from. And in order to really get into my issue with this video, I have to play you a clip from that debate. This is from a channel called Diesel Patches, and we're going to watch a little bit of this. Don't worry, it's short, and then we're going to get into the Moist Critical video because holy shit. You would think with a history like this, the Moist Critical would be a little bit more lenient on verbal gaffes, because Moist Critical didn't have a verbal gaffe. Moist Critical had a complete and total stroke on stream, where he apparently thought that the more normal and reasonable and justifiable position was to affirm the transing of children.
Attempting to get into the series again, but Charlie's current take comes from a very recent debate he had with Sneeko, where Charlie argues it's okay for trans kids to transition at their very young age, while Sneeko claims minors should be allowed to marry adults.
Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay, so as long as everyone...
If your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
Okay, so a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Oh, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family, because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So,
no.
But it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
Because there's
take the other party out of the equation. It's a personal
decision.
If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful. She's 21 years old. Her family wants to do it. My family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moise says that woman's a pedophile. But if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe everyone has complete, I believe everyone.
That is fucking crazy. Now, I want you to understand that Moist Critical tried to walk this back later. And tried, guys, Moist Critical here. Man, can you believe some troglodytes actually listened to me in that debate and had an issue with what I said? That's not what I said, guys. You'd have to be an idiot to think that... No, that's exactly what you fucking said, because Moist Critical is somebody who is very far to the left. He is basically the reverse Asmongold. He's somebody that in that moment thought that that was the moral position, because in his bubble, that is the moral position, which shows you how inverted Moist Critical is. And the Bible talks about people that will say that good is evil and evil is good. Gender transitioning is genuinely life-altering in a way that you can't go back. With a marriage, you can have it annulled. The family can step in and say, okay, we're breaking this up. If there's abuse or something, the family can come in and they can say, okay, well, we're ending this. But with gender transition, it's so much worse. And Moist Critical was okay with the gender transitioning, but not okay with the child marriage. This guy is correct. Sneeko put a spotlight on the moral inconsistencies of these people on the left, and he did a very, very good job at that, which is crazy because when I saw what the debate was about, I said there's no possible way that Moist Critical could lose. And literally, Sneeko is arguing against the age of consent. He's saying that children should be able to marry adults. Nobody could lose that debate. Nobody could lose that debate. Moist Critical found a way. Anyway, getting into this video. This is about Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz had a verbal gaffe. And Charlie is being none too charitable.
I just saw a very wild clip. Politicians are no strangers to weird takes. But what Ted...
Also, let me just bring this up. Moist Critical, he's a left-wing guy, right? He would never do a video on, say, the evil and indefensible things that Ilhan Omar might say. You remember Ilhan Omar? Moist Critical has never done a video on Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is the woman in Congress who married her brother. Yeah, the Somali who came over here, disparages America all the time. Somebody that, by the way, I think should be immediately deported. She lied on her application to get into the country. She's a brother fucker. And by the way, it's not any sort of defamation. That's an actual fact at this point. Holy shit. Never going to do a video about her. But Ted Cruz, he's a Republican, and he knows, Moist Critical does, that his audience doesn't like Republicans, so this is safe. Not going to bring up the litany of things that Democrats say all the time that are fucking evil and indefensible and retarded and stupid. This guy is never going to do a video on Antifa and what they did in Portland, which is something that you can find on my channel, by the way. I just want to elucidate the hypocrisy here. That this guy talks about politics in a specific way, a tailored way. And I'm just here to point out the fact that with that clip that you saw before, and with this clip here, you can start to see where the limitations are with somebody like this, where they can't be fully honest because they're too afraid of their own audience or the people that they work with.
Ted Cruz just said is so shocking. I actually can't believe this is real. I double-checked if this was like AI or like a bad lip-reading video or something dubbed over. It's not. He said it with his whole chest.
Senator Booker also said we should have bipartisan agreement. I think that's a great idea. We should have bipartisan agreement. How about we all come together and say, let's stop murders? How about we all come together and say, let's stop rape? How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles? I want you to look at what happened when the national...
So, obvious, it's a verbal gaffe. It's a verbal mistake. It's obvious. We've seen enough Ted Cruz clips to know that he does not support pedophiles. There's no argument that you can make that say that he does. Anyone trying to say that Ted... why are you making me fucking defend Ted Cruz? That's the part that gets me more angrier than anything. You're making me defend Ted Cruz. What twilight world are we living in? But you're being disingenuous. This is bad faith. He said it with his whole chest. Obviously, he misspoke. Now, maybe he didn't catch it in the moment, because he just continues on. Maybe he didn't catch it. But Moist Critical is like, guys, I got him. Boy, dead to rights. I don't know if sleep deprivation has ruined Moist Critical's brain. But this is very, very simply a case of a man misspeaking. Ted Cruz is not now in favor of pedophiles.
National Guard went to D.C.
What in tarnation? Pardon me? Can we roll that back, put it on the Jumbotron, please? There's no way he just said that out loud, right?
There's no way he just said that out loud, right? There's no way he said that out loud, right?
If they're a child?
I think that's
If they're a child? Somebody can go through hormone therapy. Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting. As you agree with.
Okay, so as long as
If
everyone...
your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
Okay, so a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Oh, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family, because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So,
no.
But it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
Because there's
take the other party
more
out of
than
the
a personal
equation.
decision now.
It's a personal
It's
decision.
not.
If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful. She's 21 years old. Her family wants to do it. My family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a pedophile. But if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe everyone has I believe everyone.
So just to understand who's saying this and in what context. I mean, you would think that somebody that has a history and past of saying shit like that would be a little bit more charitable. But now we're about to see, no, there's no charitability. Now it's scorched earth. Now it's, oh man, they're obviously covering up for the Epstein files. Get the fuck out of here.
What a crazy Freudian slip. Or maybe not even a Freudian slip.
A Freudian slip? It's literally a misspeak. Like, Ted Cruz has like hundreds of hours on the internet where he's been recorded talking about the work that needs to be done in, arresting and prosecuting pedophiles. But he has this one slip-up that's obviously a slip-up because he's in the flow of talking about we need to be real on murderers, we need to be real on abusers, and he says, oh, and we need to stop people beating up pedophiles. It's like, okay, that's obviously a verbal gaffe, and he doesn't realize it. But Moist Critical is literally here in front of you saying, no, he actually meant it. There's a chance that he meant. What the fuck are we doing? Is it really your contention, Charlie, the guy that affirmed children being able to transition? Is it really your contention that Ted Cruz actually meant that he thinks that it's okay to be a pedophile and we should stop beating up pedophiles? You really think that's what he's saying? You really think that's it, Charlie? Huh? Are you being honest here? Are you being good faith? Or did you see that and you're so sleep deprived that you had like this moment where you're like, guys, I got him. I found out these Republicans are in favor of pedophiles. Yeah, it hasn't been Republicans that are putting out the type of content that you put out, Charlie, that children should be able to transition and to feed them into the cult of perverts and degenerates and freaks in the trans community.
It looks like he is reading off a piece of paper for his monologue here. He might have wrote that down as like a really strong stamp that he needs to get across here about people need to come together to stop attacking pedophiles. What? Teddy, sweaty and ready out here trying to defend pedophiles or some shit? Man, those Epstein files are never coming out, huh? Heavens to Betsy. Now, you have to imagine that's not what he meant to say, so you would think that he'd pretty quickly scramble to set the record straight so there's no confusion on where he stands. I don't.
Unless he didn't realize the gaffe until he was already onto a next thought. And when he did realize, he didn't want to go back and relitigate the whole thing. Because he assumed that people would have the cognitive faculties to understand what he was actually trying to say. He didn't think that he needed to handhold somebody like Charlie, this far-left retard on the internet, that apparently the grease has infiltrated his brain. He probably didn't think, okay, I don't need to relitigate this. People are smart enough to know that I'm not in favor of pedophiles. But that was a mistake on Ted Cruz's part. No. Don't you realize that there's an internet retard named Moist Critical that believes in gender-affirming care for children, basically transitioning and mutilating and castrating children? A guy that believes that's going to take your words with no good faith interpretation and say that you're in favor of pedophiles? Didn't you know that, Ted Cruz? Couldn't you have predicted that?
I don't think he wants to be known as Ted Stop Attacking Pedophiles Cruz, but he never goes back to explain what he tried to express. Also, nobody in the room challenges him on it. Hey.
Yeah, nobody challenges him. First of all, the Democrats are in favor of pedophiles. They have been. Drag Story Hour, LG, Tim Pool has gone over this ad nauseum. Tim Pool bought the books that Democrats were trying to put into elementary schools, and they are so pornographic and so gross, he couldn't even show them on YouTube without getting demonetized. Democrats have been in favor of sexualizing kids for a while. Those are the kids that actually survive the death camps that are known as Planned Parenthood and abortion clinics. The kids who survive being put to death by Democrats, they're then sexualized by Democrats. So, understand that Moist Critical and his philosophy and ideology is not coming at this from the moral high ground. This is a stretch, it's a reach, and I am more pissed that I have to defend Ted Cruz than anything. Why am I the one that has to defend Ted Cruz? Moist Critical should have seen that and been like, yeah, that was a gaffe. That was a pretty bad gaffe. And if he had come here and been like, guys, that's a pretty bad gaffe, that's pretty embarrassing, yeah, we should absolutely be attacking pedophiles, arresting them, putting them in jail, I wouldn't have had a problem with this video. But it's the bad faith nature, especially with the history that Moist Critical has, that really set me over the fucking moon.
Hey, Ted, quick question before moving on. Did you mean what you said at the end there? Like you said, stop murder? Okay, good, yeah, all right. And then stop rape? All right, good, yeah, no, rape's bad. Let's stop that. And then you said stop attacking pedophiles, and I couldn't help but be confused because, well, attacking pedophiles is good. That needs to happen more often. In fact, I'd argue we don't attack pedophiles enough. So what did you mean there at the end, Ted? But there is not a soul in this building that says anything about it, not even a peep. So they just move on.
Robbery fell by 57%. Homicide fell by 58%. Sex abuse fell by 40%. Those are real results. And Detective Pemberton?
Goober just carries on business as usual, as if nothing is abnormal about what he's just stated. No one in the room says anything about it, not even a whisper. That's crazy to me. Now, I attempted to do the impossible of putting together the jigsaw puzzle that is Ted Cruz's enigmatic mind, but that's like dividing by zero. I can't quite figure it out. I tried to understand what he wanted to say but fumbled based on the slide that he pulls up, which is stats: robbery, homicide, sex abuse. Homicide ties into the first thing he said about stopping murder, but then the second thing he says about stopping rape, well, that ties into sex abuse. The third thing, robbery, is not anything he ever said about stopping. So where the fuck does the word pedophile even come from, and how does the word attacking pedophiles even squeak out from between his foul butt cheeks? I've seen like long versions of this, not the whole thing. Maybe at some point it comes up as like previously on Dragon Ball Z I said this but meant that. Maybe, but I haven't seen that. I checked both of his Twitter accounts because apparently he's got two, and he posts like 8 times a day, and he hasn't uttered a peep about him saying to stop attacking pedophiles, that we should come together to stop attacking pedophiles. So maybe there's a chance that's what he actually...
Across the country, Senator Ted Cruz is now joining other lawmakers in calling for a criminal investigation. The senator sent a letter to the Justice Department on Friday demanding an investigation into the production of the film Cuties. Cruz wants the DOJ to determine if federal laws were broken, claiming the film sexualizes young children and appeals to pedophiles. Cruz goes on to say that the First Amendment provides protection for artistic protection, but, quote, it does not allow individuals or for-profit corporations to produce or distribute child pornography.